a lot of people will know who you are. You've done commentary here on Virgin Media. We've seen you with Italy. But can we go back to 2010? And your career, you're playing with Leinster and everything changed.
Yeah, so I suppose I was climbing the ladder of professional rugby here in Ireland with Leinster, as you were saying, and was playing for my university when sort of my life turned around and changed when, unfortunately, a teammate accidentally stood on my face and his stud, so a bit of metal, went into my eyeball and burst the eyeball, which led to a few complications and ultimately left me blind in my left eye. So it was, pretty life-changing.
What's the reaction to something like this? Because at that time, like, you're training, you're ahead of the likes of the Johnny Sextons, the Ian Madigans, the Joey Carberrys. You are the man in command at this time. And for something like this to put an end to that, what goes through your head?
Yeah, well, it happened when I was 20, so it's pretty difficult when you're young to sort of comprehend that. So I think there's emotions of anger and why and all that sort of stuff. So luckily my recovery, got back in order that I could play again. But as I said, I developed complications with cataracts and my retina ultimately detached. So age 21, informed Joe Schmidt, who was the Leinster coach at the time, that to play rugby with sort of one eye essentially at out half, which was my position, it would have been quite difficult. So the most difficult decision I had to make, yeah.
To step back and to go, I can't do this. What was that meeting like? Because is that you essentially, you were rehabbing to try to go back? And to have that meeting, is that you're drawing a line under it? And where are you thinking your future was immediately rugby? And where are you thinking it's going to go now? Did you even have that foresight?
Yeah, it was quite complicated because I think, as Tommy would have known playing rugby, if you hurt your leg, you might be able to do some form of different exercise or vice versa, But because my eye was so delicate, I couldn't run, I couldn't go into the gym. So it was very much, for the first few months anyway, of like staying still and sitting in certain positions and taking drops constantly. So the rehab was not a normal rehab. So, I suppose when you're 21, you don't have many other plans outside of what you're doing. But I always wanted to stay within the sport. I've never really fell out of love with rugby. Is what I wanted to do as a kid, and sort of stayed with it and coached different teams. And Leinster were really good to me, in terms of offering me or helping me coach different teams. And because of that, I got a call to move over to the glamorous Italy back in 2012 when I was 22.
So the dream is still alive. You thought that there's still hope for me to be out on that pitch again, and this opportunity came to go to Italy. So where did that call come from? And did you think that it was just going to be at that sort of a lower level? We're seeing you here playing for Italy at the national level, but I'm sure you weren't dreaming about that at the time.
No, I think, I moved over as a coach, so I had fully retired. You always, I suppose, you always want the dream, But even though in my mind it was done, so I went to a city in northeastern Italy called Udine, which is near the Slovenian border, and I was there just coaching kids and working in schools and trying to embrace the culture and the language and everything like that. But there was always the burning desire to keep playing. That's something, you didn't fulfill your maximum potential and everything like that. So I suppose, thankfully, my brother came to visit me in 2013, and he's a really big part of my story. And I just fully opened up and had a really good brotherly cry to him, just with all this pressure on top of me going that I just want to go back and play rugby. That's your identity's gone. And he thought, Ian can still kick, he can still pass, he can do everything accurately. He's just got this one problem where he can't see out of his left eye, so what can we do? So we got in touch with the IRB, which now they're known as World Rugby. So for people who don't know rugby, it's sort of like the FIFA, it's the main organisation of rugby. And there was never really anything that was developed in terms of eye protection. So we ultimately maybe pushed the right buttons and annoyed the right people, and eventually rugby goggles became available in 2014. I picked up the first pair.
And I remember you so distinctly, like seeing you on the pitch and being like, he's Irish, what's going on here? But before we get to, you worked your way into the Italian team. So you get your rugby goggles, and then next thing was it like Conor O'Shea going, go on, jump on the pitch there. You haven't played in a few years.
Yeah, they wouldn't be the best fashion statement if you were talking about fashion earlier on. You know, I mean, you do look like a bit of a pilot from the 1940s, or as if you're going on the ski slopes. You know, you'd get comments like that all the time from people. But I didn't care because it was just to protect my good eye.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people thought that the goggles enhanced vision, but it probably decreased it a little bit just because of padding, so you have less vision on some parts and things like that. So it was solely just to protect it. But yeah, I was coaching with my club, which was the lower end of Italian rugby. So literally, I'm not joking when I say guys were there with McDonald's bags before games, cigarettes very much before, during and after. So it was the lower end, you know, social rugby. So, but I knew after playing a few games there, like I knew obviously the level I wanted to go up, and luckily I got signed by a team called Rugby Viadana there, and then spent a couple of years there, and then got signed by the full professional team of Bennett and Treviso, who compete in the same league as Ulster and Munster and all these other teams.
And listen, I played against you numerous occasions for Treviso and for Ireland. And what I couldn't understand is, see, what level of vision do you have in that left eye now?
Oh, well, it's black. So if I'm to cover up the right,
but you're left-footed.
Yeah.
So you were having to kick the ball as an out half, catch the pass with no vision in this left eye. I mean, it's incredible that you were able to play at professional level, and whatever about for Benetton and Treviso, but actually playing in a Six Nations match with only one eye it's astonishing.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate it. I suppose some other players struggle to pass, so you could say that that's their disability almost in some way. Mine, was just obviously a bit more complicated. So you had to learn how to catch properly because your depth perception, you know, when I was in hospital the very first time and went to pour, you know, myself a glass of water, you'd miss it by a good 3 foot and things like that. So you had to sort of reprogram your brain, and that was a constant battle every day to try and make sure that you didn't make the eye an excuse.
And even those goggles. I mean, I was driving on the motorway today, and without the windscreen wipers, I wouldn't be able to see a thing. But there's no windscreen wipers in those goggles. So if you're playing with the rain, like
my arms were the windscreen wipers. Yeah.
Did you have different pairs? Like how did trying to see and like as an out half? I mean, you're the playmaker for the team.
It's probably why we played quite negatively whenever I was in a 10, because you just call the forwards around the corner and maybe get your 9 to kick whenever weather conditions are a bit trickier. But no, it presented itself with huge challenges, but ultimately I could never be angry with them because that's why I was able to play, and that gave me the confidence to go back and play. But yeah, it was a constant battle every day, but something that you just had to embrace. And you never gave away your secrets. maybe now that I've retired a second time, you can.
You can do whatever. You can say whatever you want. A second time. That's the thing. Retiring for the second time. Got to do it twice.
Yeah.
Oh. I know.
So I'm just wondering for your family, right? You've had this life-changing injury, and obviously your brother is in your corner, doing everything he can to get you back. Your girlfriend and wife now, Cordelia, is she sitting there going, "What are you doing? Like, why are you doing this to me? Already, rugby is a dangerous enough sport." And they were there people going, "Please don't."
Yeah, I think throw my parents in at that as well, particularly my mum.
I was just going to say your mum.
Yeah, but I think that it was just trying to make sure that you were playing in as a safe environment as possible. Of course, you're in a contact sport like rugby, you're going to get bumps and bruises, and you know you get injuries. That's just part and parcel of it. And yeah, this is a little bit more delicate, but you're just trying to make sure that those risks don't, that the percentage is just a lot lower than what it could be. Yeah, some people would say you're completely bonkers, but listen, I played over nearly 150 games with the goggles over a 6-year period, and with various teams, you know, from one of the lowest levels to, you know, international rugby, and challenging, but nothing ever damaging, nothing ever happened like that. So that's probably been one of the successes, as well as thousands of people now registered using these goggles, which they wouldn't have previously.
It's absolutely fantastic. And listen, I know you're back home now. You've moved from Benetton Treviso to Balahi, and loving.
I mean, it's basically the same thing.
Well, it's romantic. I mean, Seamus Heaney land, so it is fairly romantic and poetic, you know. So you can
absolutely
espressos in every corner. I'm sure
find whatever positive we can in it. But listen. and this is only, you're a brilliant motivational speaker, and you're brilliant in terms of talking about people to deal with resilience and come back and really living and fighting for a dream. And this isn't even getting into the time you're living in Italy, of course, during COVID and everything else. So second sight, Ian McKinley, of course, with Jerry Thornley, and a fabulous rugby writer
Really,
as well.
it's fascinating. Fascinating.
Congratulations. Super read.
Appreciate it.
Clark Kent, it has been a pleasure having you here this morning. It's unbelievable, isn't it?